FPL Game Week 20 Transfer Plans. We are now halfway through the season, and with game weeks are coming thick and fast, another game week starting in just 2 days time. So today I'm going to take you through my updated transfer plans, how my team is looking for game week 20. I've got 2 free transfers and 3.3 million in the bank. I'm very cautious that Erling Haaland is going to be returning soon. We don't know whether it's going to be this week though. So today I'm going to take you through what I might do if he's back and what I'll do if he isn't as well. Welcome back everyone, FPL Harry here. Before we go in, 1,000 likes on the video, subscribe if you are new around here as well. My team for Game Week 20 is lining up on screen. The big thing for me this week is that I have triple Newcastle who continue to disappoint, but luckily I do have the ability to bench 2 of them this week. At the moment I'm benching Dubravka and then I'm benching Trippier as well. Trippier versus Gordon is probably the only close debate. They're pretty even in terms of potential returns. Maybe Trippier has more routes to points being on set pieces as well, so maybe going with a back 4 again would be the right thing to do. In goal, that means we are starting Areola. Good to see him back in the West Ham goal against Manchester United last week. Of course, they still to play. This is a mid-game week recording, but with how fast the game week's coming around, we have to record before some of the games are finished. Into defence, we have Pedro Porro, we have Gabriel, and we have Trent Alexander-Arnold. Trent Alexander-Arnold continues to be one of the most happy I've been after making a transfer in recent weeks. Gabriel again with a good fixture, and then Pedro Porro as well. Now, Porro's at home to Bournemouth. It's maybe not the best fixture because I also have Solanke, but still pretty happy with him. Into midfield, Son is in there, Gordon, who we've already spoken about, Salah, who's been actually quite disappointing in recent weeks, Newcastle at home though, who have not been great recently and particularly worse when they go away from home. Bukayo Saka and then Cole Palmer are my final midfield 2. And then up front, it is Ollie Watkins again, and then Dominic Solanke. I'm pretty happy with how the team is looking. Cole Palmer coming back from suspension, 3-5-2. It does mean that I get to bench 2 of my Newcastle assets who have not been great. But as I said, I've got 2 free transfers and 3.3 million in the bank. Looking at my team now, I do feel that having to start the 2 Newcastle players this week is not great. But the thing is when you put up their fixtures, going into game weeks, maybe 23 onwards, they go on a really nice run of fixtures and they're out of Europe and they're out of the Carabao Cup as well. So they actually don't have that many games to play for the second half of the season. So part of me thinks that we might see the Newcastle of old return and see them return back to their best. So I'm not priority selling some of those Newcastle players, but I do think if I can upgrade my squad in order to bench them for the next few weeks, that is probably the best thing for me to do. So the first thing to talk about is what I'm going to do with a potential return of Erling Haaland. Of course, Manchester City play this evening against Everton. I don't expect him to be in the squad for that one, but then they go to Sheffield United. Well, they have Sheffield United at home in game week 20. Looking at potential routes to it, it would be Salah downgrade given his inconsistent form and having Newcastle this week before going away to the African Cup of Nations, and upgrading Archer all the way to Erling Haaland. Now, Archer's been really good recently, but I definitely don't want to be selling Dominic Solanke, who was initially going to be my way back to go and buy Erling Haaland, who was the player I bought when I sold Haaland a few weeks ago. That Archer to Haaland move is pretty locked in. It's just deciding who that midfielder would be I'd go for in that midfield spot, where at the moment Richarlison. The other one that I've got my eye on is Douglas Luiz of Aston Villa. Yes, they lost, very last minute or in a very heated game against Manchester United, but the upcoming fixtures are definitely good, including Burnley at home in game week 20. It would give me a very decent sort of 15-man squad, particularly that front 8, where I could bench one of them every week. So if I did make this double switch, I could actually bench all of my Newcastle assets, right? So I can bench Gordon and play either Douglas Luiz or Richarlison who comes in, and I'd play Erling Haaland as well. So I'd play a 3-4-3. So if Salah is out, it does definitely feel like it strengthens my squad a little bit. Salah downgrade. There are a few other mids. Pascal Gross also one potentially looking at. I don't think I'm going to go with Garnacho despite him just scoring twice, and upgrading, of course, Cameron Archer up to Erling Haaland. So I'll be keeping an eye on Erling Haaland's fitness and whether I think he's going to be available for Sheffield United at home. And then, of course, I've got 2 free transfers. So if he's not going to be available, I've got to go and make another transfer in my team. There are a few things that I could do. The first one is just changing Charlie Taylor, who is my 5th defender. But in some of the blank game weeks we've got in the second half of the season, in some of the double game weeks, actually just some game weeks generally, having Charlie Taylor is not great. They've kept a few clean sheets recently, but generally I don't really trust them or rely on them very much. With Reece James having surgery at Chelsea, it does mean that Gusta at 4.1 is getting a lot of minutes and is very attacking as well. So with the upcoming Chelsea fixtures, I am tempted to make a very sideways switch of Taylor to Gusto. I just think Gusto is a better asset than Taylor is at the moment. There are other defenders, and actually with Luka Dean going off injured for Aston Villa last night, we might see Alex Moreno at 5 million become a really, really good asset, particularly with those Aston Villa fixtures that they've got coming up. So I could do Taylor to Moreno. In theory, I could sell Trippier if I didn't want him, go and buy Alex Moreno in his place as well. I'm quite happy with my defence. Now, Trippier's not great for the next few weeks, but I do plan on keeping him. Trent, Porro, Gabriel feels pretty set and forget at the moment. So as much as I like Moreno and as much as I maybe like Gusto, I'm not necessarily sure a defensive transfer makes a lot of sense, but of course Gusto could just sit on my bench. The other one is actually to sell Anthony Gordon. Harvey Barnes is likely to be back soon, and although I think Gordon is definitely first choice at Newcastle, there might be a little bit of rotation, a little bit of an early sub here and there, depending on how many fixtures when they play midweek, etc. So I could actually just sell Anthony Gordon. I could, of course, go to Richarlison, but it would probably be Douglas Luiz that I would go to first, take that little bit more money, just make it slightly easier for me to go and buy Erling Haaland into my team in a few weeks' time. So Anthony Gordon down to Luiz would probably be the one transfer that I would do if Erling Haaland's not going to be back for game week 20. But I do think that Charlie Taylor's a bit of a weak point, and Chelsea's fixtures and Aston Villa's fixtures over the next few weeks do look pretty nice. Definitely something that I'm considering for my team as well. So looking at my team, I know it's a bit boring, but just to give you sort of first ideas of what I'm planning on doing with my team. Yes, a lot of it comes down to what we think is going to happen with Erling Haaland. If Erling Haaland is going to start against Sheffield United and that's what we think, then yes, he will come in. That's why I rolled my transfer last week, so I could have 2 free transfers, so I could buy him for free this week if I'd want him to. That transfer would be selling Mo Salah, and I would be upgrading Cameron Archer all the way to Haaland and downgrading Salah probably to Richarlison or Douglas Luiz. If he's not going to be available, or there's a doubt about whether he's going to start, maybe he's going to be on the bench, I would then do Gordon probably to another midfielder, potentially upgrade Charlie Taylor to a Gusto who has Luton this week. That could mean I could still bench Gordon. There are a few other things, but basically, I'm doing my best not to start any Newcastle asset in my team for the next 2 weeks, and then I can have them in my team from game weeks 23-ish when their fixtures do turn a little bit nicer. And of course, Haaland as well. So transfer plans focused around buying Haaland and not starting Newcastle players. And then, of course, at the moment, Son is going to get my captaincy. Again, it's a nice fixture. I'm not set on captaincy this week. I kind of hope Erling Haaland is back so I'd be comfortable captaining him, because I've had quite a few captaincy blanks over the past few weeks. Salah again this week, bringing in a captaincy blank. So not decided on captain, keeping an eye on Erling Haaland news. If he's going to be back, 100% I'll bring him in. If not, I'll wait until game week 21. I'll use one transfer, roll the other one. So again, I have 2 free transfers going into game week 21 where I could easily go and buy him back that week instead. So first, transfer plans. There will be a top transfer targets video for you all tomorrow before a team selection video 24 hours before the next game week 20 deadline. Then after game week 20, we have a week and a half or maybe 2 weeks break until game week 21. So a little bit of a breather from FPL. So let's get through this final game week before the winter break. Thank you all so much for watching. 1,000 likes on the video is the aim. Leave any questions you have already about your team going into game week 20. Reminder, this is your last week you have to play your wildcard. If you have your wildcard available, you have to play it before game week 20 or you won't get your second wildcard and you will only get one wildcard in total this season as well. But any general questions about your team, leave it in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe before you go, and I'll be back again very soon.